In this video, we're going to work through 5 and 6 on your Chapter 2 test review. And number 5, given angle 2 is congruent to angle 3 and ray TV bisects angle UTW, prove that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Okay, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put my two givens in my proof. Now notice they don't give me 2 rows for my givens, so I'm going to take both of my 2 given statements and put them both in this first statement box. Okay, so I know, okay, one thing I know is that ray TV bisects angle UTW, and the other thing I'm given is that angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. Those are both given. Now I'm going to go ahead in my picture here, show that angle 2 is congruent to angle 3 with an arc. I'm going to put one arc there and one arc there. All right. They tell me, remember, that ray TV, this ray here, bisects angle UTW. That means this ray divides this angle in half into 2 equal angles. Angle 1 and angle 2 are equal. Okay? And so I need to put this in my proof here. Because this is an angle bisector, angle 1 and angle 2 are congruent. So I've got angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Okay? And that's the definition of an angle bisector. Right? Remember, I'm trying to prove that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Okay? So now that I know that angle 1 and congruent are congruent to each other, and angle 2 is congruent to angle 3, it makes sense then that angle 1 and angle 3 are also congruent. So looking at my statements here, angle 1 and angle 3 are both congruent to angle 2. So therefore, they must be congruent to each other. When I use 2 congruent statements like this to come up with my third, you could think of that using the transitive property, or you could use substitution, right? You could imagine taking this angle 3 and substituting it in for angle 2 to get your final statement. All right. Number 6. Given angle 1 is a complement of angle 2, and that angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. Prove that angle 1 is a complement of angle 3. Okay. So again, like the last one, I have 2 given statements, but they only give me 1 row, so I'm going to put both of those in as statement 1. Okay, so let's use the fact that angle 1 is a complement of angle 2. Well, what does that mean about their measures, right? Complementary angles add to 90 degrees. So in statement 2, using the definition of complementary angles, the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 must be equal to 90 degrees. So now I have to think about how am I going to use my second given statement, angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. And it tells me that I'm going to use the reason of definition of congruent angles. We got to think about what does that mean? What are congruent angles? If angle 2 and angle 3 are congruent, what does that mean about their measures? And we know that if 2 angles are congruent, their measures are equal. So I'm going to say the measure of angle 2 is equal to the measure of angle 3. I'm using this congruent statement to conclude that. That's what it means to be congruent. So remember, I'm trying to show that angle 1 and angle 3 are complementary. I'm trying to show that they add to 90 degrees. So I want to use these two equations somehow to show that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 3 is also 90 degrees. So notice, since the measure of angle 3 is equal to the measure of angle 2, I could take this and substitute it in for the measure of angle 2 to show that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 3 must be equal to 90 degrees. And I want to show that because I want to show that angle 1 is a complement of angle 3. And so from here to here, I know that angle 1 is a complement of angle 3 by the definition of complementary angles.